Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Huddle Up with Gus. I'm your host, former NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte, and welcome to the new 1631 Digital News Studio. You know, some people say, no news is good news. Well, I say to those people, you've never read 1631digitalnews.com. Go to 1631digitalnews.com to get your latest news, sports, music, and entertainment. And maybe even listen to your favorite podcast, Huddle Up with Gus. Check it out today at www.1631digitalnews.com.
Huddle Up with Gus is brought to you by Vegas Sports Advantage. Clients of Vegas Sports Advantage are winning big in 2021, and you can be a part of the winning too. As of June 1st, $100 bettors are up $3,700. $500 bettors are up $18,500, and $1,000 bettors are up $37,000, and $5,000 bettors are up $185,000. Become a client today by clicking the link in the description below and use promo code HUDDLE.
Welcome to what surely will be a doozy of a matchup right here, sports fans. Whether your game is on the gridiron, at the diamond, or on the links, we can only say, welcome to this week's Huddle Up with Gus. 15-year NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte, passion for sports, has taken him on the field and behind the benches, playing for 7 NFL franchises with 114 TDs under his belt. Gus knows who the players are and how the games are won.
It's not every day you get to hang out with an NFL quarterback, huh?
Okay, sports fans, from the decked out and plush 1631 digital studios, it's kickoff time. So snap your chin straps on and get ready to huddle up with Gus.
Strange variety, but again, a big play to Leslie.
Promo code HUDDLE UP to take 25% off your package today, thanks to our partnership. Hey everyone, welcome to Huddle Up with Gus. I'm your host, Gus Frerotte, and we're on the new super platform. I appreciate everyone joining. Sorry, we are a little late, but I guess we are known for that over the last couple of weeks just because of issues with technology and everything. And today my issue was with a plane, so I was a little delayed, and I cannot thank my guests for being here and taking time and being so patient with us. But I want to thank all of our people, especially Super, Sounder FM, and thanks to my help that I have. It's incredible. I couldn't do without them, but thank you, Terry Schulman. I appreciate you. And so this is a great show. We're on a new platform. So today is somebody that we've had on before. He's a great person. I'm trying to bring my son on as the moderator so he can run everything for me. But join us back in the pit, I guess we'll say pit stop, is Mario Andretti. Mario, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm great, Gus.
So I'm excited to talk to you because last time we spoke, we found out a lot about you growing up and your how you fell in love with auto racing. Today, I want to get a little more into about your son and your family. I mean, it's such a big name. You guys are worldwide. And the first question I had for you, because my son's played football, how did you feel when your son started racing?
Well, obviously it was something that started when he was 9 years old. And I have 2 boys, by the way, Mike and Jeff, and they both raced. And you know, as you would expect, you know, just like you're a football player, you put the football in the kid's hand right away. So I put a go-kart.
Yeah.
In Michael was the oldest one. So I took him to a parking lot, the high school parking lot, and set up a little bit of a course. And I said, well, let's see how he does. And I mean, he took that like duck to water, you know, and so he started racing at age 9. And in fact, he was running national events when he was like 11. And I had to sign him off because those events, you had to be 14 and older.
Yeah.
And he was winning. I mean, Michael was winning right off the bat, and Jeff did the same thing. And you know, and my wife, you know, kept saying, "You're really a responsible daddy," you know, to get him started so early. But nevertheless, it was almost a natural thing for them to pursue. I hope that I'm not guilty of pushing them into it. All I did, I made it available, and then I think I made it clear enough to say, you know what, you make the choice. It's up to you if you want to continue this, and the message back was clear, from Michael and both Jeff as well, and they both went through all the the sort of the categories, for these in all the roads to Indy, if you will,
Right.
like the little leaguers and all that. There are plenty of those categories, that advance you up until you get to the top. And the best thing is that, looking back, they were winning, going right through the different disciplines. And Michael had a phenomenal career. Jeff was not as happy, as lucky or as fortunate. Just like my twin brother Aldo, we both started together, and
Right.
I'm the guy that was dodging all the bullets, and he was getting all the bullets.
Right.
So his career was brief, about 10 years, and then he had to retire after the last accident. And Jeff did pretty much the same thing. But as a family, as you could see, Jeff went on, and then Michael went on, and then his son Marco is the other Andretti that took up this game, and he pretty much started about the same age. He was 9 or 10, and continued the same road as Michael did.
Yeah, that's incredible. What about being a dad? What was the first race where you really were nervous? You know what I mean? Because like when my kids played kind of youth football, I wasn't as nervous, but then they got up to high school ranks where guys are bigger, faster. What was the first time you remember being pretty nervous to watch them?
I was always nervous. I'm nervous today. That never changed.
Yeah.
I'm the nervous Nelly on the sideline. The only time that I was more relaxed was when we were on the racetrack together, and Michael and I were even teammates toward the end of my career, and we were on podium 15 times in an IndyCar race, So
Wow.
we had some good racing together, and we started on the front row 10 times, and we were first and second 5 times. So it was 5, 10, and 15. So we had some great times together.
What about like if you and Michael were coming in together, right, or you're on the last lap together, who's going to let the other one win? Or is it always a competition?
There's no letting anybody win. As a matter of fact, as I say, my wife, Deanne, was always, she would reprimand us, me especially. She says, he's your son. You got to give him a break, because every time we were just wheel to wheel, there was always some touching, like a little bit nudging. It says, you guys, you're crazy. You make me. Of course, we would take care of each other. We never crashed each other, obviously.
Yeah. That wouldn't be good. You wouldn't have to go home after that one, right?
Yeah, it would have been a quiet ride home. But at the same time, I know the one race in Portland, 1986. Michael was actually way ahead, and I was second and no chance to catch him. And about 3 laps from the end, the engineer is screaming in my ear, Michael is having some fuel pickup problems. So, man, I stood on that seat, and we're coming down for the drag race to the finish line. I beat him by 7 1/1000ths of a second.
Oh, man. I can't imagine. Was he fuming?
Oh, he was fuming. On the podium, he was actually he was pretty upset, and one gentleman says, "Hey, Mike," he said, "Cool off a little bit." He says, "It's Father's Day."
Yeah.
So oh yeah, Happy Father's Day, Dad.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
And my wife says, "Why do you let him win? He's your son." I said, "Are you kidding?"
Yeah, right. He's going to do this a lot longer than me. He's going to be in it forever now. And and you were probably saying like, I got to get what I can. But
yeah, exactly so.
how was it when you would give them advice? Would they take it, or would they say, "Oh yeah, Dad, whatever"? Because it's different. Like even when I played football, try to give my boys advice and things. Sometimes they'd listen, sometimes not. But as a father, it's you know what I mean. You're their dad and not the greatest F1 racer ever, Formula One racer ever.
Yeah, I mean, advice, especially at the beginning, especially in go-karts, I just would watch them different lines and so on and so forth. And whenever I would make a suggestion, Michael or Jeff, they would, take to it. That was pretty good. They would kind of listen. Later on, that was just a matter of discussion. There was not a lot, direct. Okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? We would just generally, we always talk shop, obviously.
Yeah.
So, there were many times when Michael and I were teammates. A lot of time he was, he would hold things back from me.
Right.
I think he had
he always remembered you beating him by what, 1,000ths of a second or something. He wasn't going to give you any more help. He wasn't going to give you any more help. So we have a lot of people on. If anybody has a question for Mario, let me know. Put it in the questions, claim a spot, and you come and ask Mario a question. I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of great questions for you. So Mario, I was thinking like, okay, what am I going to talk to you about? And I wanted to kind of compare, because now you guys have your ownership of a team and you're always picking new people to race, and how that happens. How do you see somebody who's been driving and see that they have better skill than somebody else? Do you know what I mean? Like we have rookies, we have people that go to the combine, we can see them in college and you can kind of see their skills. But how does that happen in racing?
Well, I think it's the same way, the same as any other sport. When you know the sport, you know what it's all about, then you pick those things out very quickly and very easily, quite honestly. But I want to put one thing. I want to make sure that that Michael is the only one that owns his own team. I'm not part of that.
Oh, okay.
And I'll specify that because Michael actually, I think he came out of the cockpit as a driver when he was at the very top of his game, and a bit early. Actually, he was only about 42 years old.
Yeah, I read that.
I raced like another 11 years. I raced until I was 54, actually. Wow. 12 years, yeah. So the bottom line is this. He looked at this thing very differently than I did. He looked at the business side of it, which is the ownership, and he bought in on the team that actually he was driving for at the time. And that's it. I mean, it's from there on, he just cultivated his business, and he's he's entering drivers in 7 different disciplines. Even as far back as Australia. And supercars there. So, but anyway, this became his business, and he's enjoying it tremendously. And going back to your question about how you pick drivers. It's like anything else. You just go out there and you have some of your own people that are doing some scouting, and then they bring them on and they test them. They're testing a couple of drivers right now. They were testing a couple of drivers at Indianapolis in the last few days. And that's how you choose them. But also he's drawing from his own disciplines, categories that he's driving, like they call it the road to Indy. He said some of the most successful drivers really that he's had on his team came through that category. That's just a step below the IndyCars, and they call the Indy lights. And again, it's a process like anything else that. But as far as really trying to pick some talent, I just love to watch the races myself, and not only IndyCar, let it be NASCAR or Formula One, and you can see especially some of the young talent that are coming on. They have the little extra
Yeah.
Possess in ability, and that's really what you go for. If you own a team, you want to surround yourself with the best you can possibly get. And Michael, with his team, he has some pretty good shoes there. Some pretty good drivers that brought him.
I was reading, and I was reading a couple of the young kids that they've picked up recently, and it's pretty amazing how. And I was just wondering, like, does a driver have a sixth sense, like a quarterback just makes guys miss in the pocket. They kind of, it's like, how do you know that guy was coming? You know what I mean? Do you have like a sixth sense when you're driving? Like, you just kind of have a better feel for it.
All of it. I mean, it's all of it plays. I mean, it's each sport has its own quirks, its own the specialties, and the guy that actually can predict certain things, or can even the race car is a strange animal. It's an animal that requires a lot of adjustments, and just about anyone can drive a perfect race car that's really set up, but most of the time you're not going to have that. So
right.
Who are the ones that excel the best? Are the ones that actually can adapt, can adapt to the car that's not 100%, a car that maybe it's 90%, 92%, and you try to make up, because you just develop that skill to be able to just maybe do some of what the cars want rather than what you'd want sometimes, right. And still make do, and you can win some races that way, where some drivers that don't have that ability, they pretty much, they're done for that day. So
I completely understand that. There's just people that have a different skill set, and it takes them a long way. All right, so we have some questions here. First one is from Terry. This one will be a chat. You've had an amazing racing career, but you are also an amazing chef. How much influence did your grandmother have in your love of food? Wow, good question.
I don't know where you found that out, but actually the amazing chef is my daughter, Barbie. I'm the one that eats.
I would be the same way.
Yeah, my mother actually, and my grandmother was the one that they had a restaurant that was quite well known. We were, back in Italy, and then of course my mom, she didn't love it, but my dad loved it, so she had to be a good chef to please him. And my daughter Barbie really she's got all the recipes and everything, and she's the one that takes good care of me. And every couple 3 days she invites me to her house to eat, because she thinks I'm gonna be starving, which
and I bet you never say no, right? Like, I'll be
never
there.
Say no. I bring a bottle of wine with me, so that's my gift.
What's your favorite wine?
Well,
are you a cab guy?
Yeah, of course I'm a cab. We can go on and on talk about wines. Yeah, I mean, I love to start with a nice Chardonnay, quite honestly, and then I wind up with Cab, Sangiovese, Merlot, Syrah. There's so much to choose from.
There is there's incredible wine everywhere now. It's like it's exploding. So it's a lot of fun to try everything. So we got another question from VJ. VJ asks, not quite related to racing, but for Mario, did you enjoy the Nazareth marching band in 2019? And do you think marching band is a sport? So I don't know if you know the answer to that one, but or what VJ is talking about, but I'll let you take a shot at it.
Well, in 2019, we were celebrating the 50th anniversary of my win at Indianapolis, and the Nazareth Marching Band was pretty much, celebrating that, which was quite nice for me. And so I attended a few of the events, and they were spectacular, just the way they presented. And of course, they're our hometown marching band, and they're in competition. So any competition can be a sport. Why not?
Right.
Of course, you try to be better than the other team, and they showed tremendously. They were winning pretty much all of the events they entered. So I was very proud of that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Like I would think that if I had to carry a tube around for an hour, that'd be a sport, right? That'd be a pretty good workout. That'd be pretty tough. All right, we got one from Andrew Howard here. Andrew wants to know F1 drivers looking at IndyCar, Jimmy in IndyCar. How important is this cross series engagement, like your career, to racing's growth?
I love to see that. I love to see that some of the drivers, again, like you said, even from NASCAR, as we see just lately, Jimmy Johnson, and then we have Roman Grosjean in IndyCar at the latest, again from Formula One, and something that I derived tremendous satisfaction throughout my career by crossing over, and not only just racing there, having the career, but also trying to win somebody else's sandbox at their own game,
right.
if you will. Like I said, I just love the opportunities to do that, and whenever I see it happening now, just like even a couple of years ago when when we had some other experiences, with Fernando Alonso coming to Indianapolis and driving for Michael, and he by the time the race came on, the race was on. At Indy, you have the luxury to do to have a lot of practice, because you're a full week before you qualify. So by the time the race comes on, even if you arrive there the first time, you can be like a veteran, really know what you're doing. And when the race came on, I mean, by race time, he was ready to win. He could have won that race, technically, the way he was driving, and the engine let him down. But it's great for the sport, I think, to see that, because you have some fans that are loyal to their specific discipline, but the crossover brings fans back and forth, Formula One looking at IndyCar and vice versa, So again, what we need is some an IndyCar, actually, hopefully even an American IndyCar driver in Formula One. That's what I'm trying to look for.
Yeah, that'd be great. Is it kind of like, so I'm assuming it's like when we tell kids that just play one sport, you should try them all because it makes you better, right? So I'm assuming if you're an IndyCar guy, if you've done NASCAR, there's different skill sets with all of it, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's the beauty of it. I think it expands. I mean, your ability and your skills by having to really adapt again, to a different type of car, different characteristics, and I felt that I benefited tremendously, even by having driven the dirt tracks where you do, you basically steer the car with the throttle and all that sort of thing, because you're always looking for a grip, you're always driving a different line through the corners. And that helped me in the wet, because sometimes the Europeans think that Americans can't drive in the wet, and that probably gave me even more,
right.
Zeal
because
go out there and do it properly, and I want some good races in the wet, and I benefited, I think, a lot from driving the dirt track cars. So
I can imagine that's so different.
There's a crossover of skill that's required, to drive and recognize here again the different characteristics and be able to adapt from one side or another.
Yeah, I would think that, like, if I'm a NASCAR guy and I'm driving an oval all the time, and then you have to do, it's IndyCar, right? That you go through, like when they do the track in Indy. So you do the oval, but then they do the inside of the course too with all the
road course as well.
Yeah. That would be a lot different. Like I'm always going left, and all of a sudden I got road courses where I got to make turns, and I got to learn how to do that in a different car. That would be pretty difficult.
Now, Indy is a series vis-a-vis Formula One. Formula One is specific to just road racing, and IndyCar. I think an IndyCar champion is a more complete driver even than a Formula One driver, because in order to become champion, you better be able to, better be good at super speedway, short ovals,
Right.
and then the street courses. We have quite a few street courses that Formula One. I had to have a couple as well, but like I said, just the variety of layouts that you have to deal with. I think makes you a much more complete driver. Skill wise, and here again, that's something that personally always attracted me a great deal, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I think that is great that you can, because like you said, there's fans of different sports like NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One. There's different fans. And when you can cross promote, that helps the whole industry.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, definitely. So I got an Oscar on here. Oscar, if you want to turn your camera on, I'll bring you on live and you can ask those questions to Mario yourself, which would be really cool. And so, Mario, what country do you love driving in the most? I mean, I know you live over here in the States, but you've been all over what country do you love driving in the most?
Well, to me, a racetrack is a racetrack.
Right.
I've raced in 6 continents, and when you're on a racetrack, it doesn't matter, even so. As far as any country to visit, well, that's another story.
Well, that's what everyone has the best wine, correct?
Well,
or wherever helps. Your daughter's cooking. That's what I would assume.
That helps. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to bring Oscar on. Let's see. Hey, there he is. Oscar. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. This is awesome. Super happy to be here.
Yeah. Glad to have you here. So you got a question for Mario?
I do. So Mario, you were credited with implementing ground effect into the first cars on a racetrack. And I was curious because at that time, Michael Schumacher also mounted his radiator fan to the bottom of his car to create, a sort of vacuum to further increase downforce. So while you were creating that innovative technology and that was happening at the same time, were they viewed in kind of parallel ways and both of them were very much disrupting like racing in a similar way? Or was it kind of perceived like there's no way that this fan thing's going to last and that's cheating and we're not cheating? Like, how was that kind of dynamic between the teams at the time?
Well, the difference between the fan that you're talking about is the fan was just sucking up, rocks and everything else from the track and spitting out the back. And that car was a Brabham, was raced only once, and it won the race. With Nicky Lauda in Anderstorp in Sweden. And then after that, it was ruled out because I can imagine having the whole field with those cars. I mean, it would be dangerous, among other things. But the arc ground effect was natural. You were just it was shaping the underneath of the car, to. In other words, let me go back a little bit. Up to that point, we were using airfoils at the top, where you have on the top surface to press the car down, obviously to give it more grip and more traction to the corners. But with the airfoils, you have a lot of frontal area penalty. The more angle you put on the airfoil, to get more downforce, the slower you're going to go on the straightaway. But with the ground effects, you get free downforce from the flow that creates a suction, a negative pressure underneath the car. And that was created almost by accident, quite honestly. And it was developed. We developed it more and more in 1977, whereby, we just then it's a long story, how we developed more and more downforce by directing the air. We had so-called movable skirts on the outside to retain the air so the air won't slip and get out on the sides, and then changing different angle of diffusers on the exits and, so many things. It was actually very interesting, fascinating, going through all that. And it was all part of what you would call that the development of race car throughout the different decades, that you see, where it all started, with some basic four wheels and it's very slim, just an engine and so forth, and only with mechanical, with just suspension and everything else, until all of a sudden we started thinking, okay, now we got to use the air, to give it. And the more you press it down, obviously, the more grip you get through the corners. And it was an evolution, if you will. There was, for me, just having lived through that period, I feel so fortunate, because I think I probably have a little more understanding and more appreciation for what's going on today, as to where it came from to where it is now. And so, again, all of this is, it was part of being with, like Colin Chapman, who was a real maverick. The guy was very, very intelligent in so many ways, but he really dedicated himself in so many ways to just create, to give the driver this, so-called unfair advantage if possible.
Right.
So, it was, it was phenomenal to be part of that with, individuals like himself or Mr. Ferrari, and these are icons of our sport that will probably never be duplicated.
Right. So, hey, Oscar, would you like to get a picture with Mario? Check this out.
Yeah, for
Mario.
sure.
So, look, we got a selfie mode. All right, here we go. Let's see. We're going to try it out here. 3, 2, here we go. I love it.
That's cool.
All right, there you go. That'll go right to your queue. Oscar, appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you too.
All
Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, Mr.
buddy.
Brett.
Take care.
All right, that's pretty cool. And then Mario, we get to take a selfie.
Yeah, I'll say. Yeah.
That's pretty neat. So
that's the first time that happened.
Right. I appreciate you for doing that. But what technology did you see that came into racing that you were like, okay, now this is going to be amazing. It's going to change the sport. Do you think it's what you were just talking about? Do you think it's different?
I think the aerodynamics aspect of it was probably the most powerful element in a race car to give it performance. I mean, I'll give you, for instance, let's take Indianapolis, for instance. When I was a rookie there in 1965, the car was just pure. There was no downforce whatsoever. And,
right.
The speeds were what they were. You had to back off and, in the race, you were even braking for the corners. And now, I mean, you just go flat out in 240 miles an hour, through the corners. And the only thing that slows down is the inertia, that
right.
slows you down, but you're staying flat qualifying, at least, not in a race, but qualifying. So it's an incredible feeling, and you're depending on all that downforce. I mean, if something would happen, the car would just take off and just fly over the grandstands,
Right. Yeah. If it lost a wing or something like
right.
that. Any little thing that would happen to it would change all that.
Yeah. Incredible. But like I said, it's, definitely the aerodynamic aspect of the cars. And it's quite regulated, by the way, because Gus, with the knowledge that is available, that we have today, on the engineering side, you can make a car, so easily drivable, that it would be ridiculous. So it would not even be a sport. So
you were saying I could do it.
The rules actually, the rules actually are so you cannot really use everything that you're restricted.
Right. They wouldn't want me driving because I'd slow the car way down. I'm way too big.
No, man, that's no excuse, by the way.
So I've seen the, Ferrari Ford movie that, that's kind of gives you an idea of what was going on then. Now, have you got to meet those guys, or kind of where were you in that time frame when all that was going on? Because it's amazing.
I was part of all that. I was in that series. I mean, I was I was one of the test drivers for Ford at the time, and I was part of the development of those cars with Bruce McLaren. Like we won the first race with the Mark IV. I was a Le Mans when they were running. So even with when Miles was killed, I was there at that test at Riverside. They didn't show the track. I mean, they had some of the things left a lot to be desired, especially for somebody like me that was there, but a movie is a movie. But Ken Miles was it was like an engineer driver type of guy, and there was a lot to be learned from a guy like that. And I was really in the time of my career that I needed to be learning from someone like him, and I had a special appreciation for that for sure. And he's depicted exactly that in the movie correctly. I'm not sure but he was much calmer guy than what they showed in the movie.
Right. So, yeah, like you said, it's a movie, right?
It's something to be desired about, how things are presented, in a film, if you will. But
and I was trying to picture, like, they do a good job of showing, like, moving up in an engine, or we're trying to beat this group, and then all of a sudden, I think it was Ford, right? So the actor that takes him for a ride in the Ford the car, and he gives them a lot of, like, they're like, he's like, surprise, let me show you what this can do. But for you've seen all the engines come through the time. What engine do you remember, like, where you got into a car and you were like, man, this thing is killer, this is one of the best, like, most powerful engines I've ever, like, driven? Is it like the newer stuff or the older times, where it was like such a big jump that you just fell in love with it?
Well, here again, it's I think for a driver, obviously you're always going for more power, and that's what makes you smile, because you always want to go faster.
Yeah.
And what's going to make you go faster is horsepower. And so I personally, I like the era when the turbocharger engines came on the scene, whereby, you started looking, we're qualifying with engines with about 1,100 horsepower, and sometimes, and then we didn't have a car that actually was capable of really dealing with that. So we were getting a lot of wheel spin, even on the super speedway, if you will.
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of that is regulated now. You don't have as much, but experiencing that was just amazing. It's the ultimate satisfaction from a driver to really have, the most powerful engines possible.
Yeah.
I experienced that in IndyCar. I experienced that in Formula One, with the turbocharged engine was, but it's, they have the hybrid engines now in Formula One, which they'll pump up at, in qualifying trim, somewhere around 850 horsepower, which is, it's pretty good for the power. The power to weight ratio would be just like, if in your family car, you would have like 4,000 horsepower.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Do you remember the first time you broke 200?
Yeah, actually, super speedways are the places, that you do that. And it was actually at Indy, where,
wow.
Because, that's where you're going to go the quickest,
Was your team did you have like the headsets and you could hear your, like the team in your headset telling you things? Or
well,
was
you're always informed, you have, there's a board and everything else, you always know immediately how fast you're going. And many times even, you don't have a speedometer in the car, but you look at the red RPM, if you're really cooking, where the RPMs are. So, that's even qualifying, many times, I knew that I had a really good lap going. Usually when just watching that, I said, oh, yeah, I think I got it right. And most of the time that would be a pole position type of thing.
Right. So would you say, so I'm looking at doing a new show about rivalries, right? Who would you say that your biggest rival was that you ever got to compete against? Like, okay, this guy got me, I'm going to get him now. Like, there always is that little, that makes you better, right?
I think Rivalries, I think, are something that's very healthy in sports. Obviously, even with us, a rivalry. Somebody that's better than you makes you better because it's going to make you work harder. For me, when I came on the scene, the guy that was really the yardstick at the time was AJ Foyt,
Right.
and he was 5 years my senior. He was already a champion in IndyCars, and I was going on. I was pretty much a thorn on his side because I think I was doing pretty good as a rookie.
Right.
I won. I won my first championship as a rookie. In Indiana, in the series, Indianapolis series. So I was a thorn on his side. And
did he say anything to you though? Because they usually the old guys come up and give you a little nudge and say,
"There's a lot of things. Don't need to be said." Quite honestly,
I bet. Yeah, I bet.
But
yeah, but I know how it is. Like you come in as a rookie, there's a lot of vets looking at you and saying, "All right, Rook, we'll get you."
It took a long time for us to call each other friends.
Yeah, but that all kind of goes by the wayside because you both competed for a long time, and then you kind of at the end you look back on your careers and you can become friends. But while you're doing it, it's a little different.
It's a little different, yeah, indeed.
Yes.
So but I can tell you this. I can tell you that just to belabor on that a little bit is I look at how fortunate, I've been, and AJ is not the only one. I mean, you move around, there's several other drivers, the answers and so on and so forth that any given time they're better than you, because they're good. And that's what really elevates your, your ability. I mean, elevates your game, if you will.
Yeah.
Because you never rest. There's always somebody who's going to be better than you that day. So you just work harder, and that's what makes you. That's the positive side of the sport of sports. Period, in my opinion.
Is it work hard, but also always learning, right? I feel like those
always
two things.
Learning.
Yeah, like those two things go together. Like, hey, I want to learn what that car did, so we can figure out how to make my car better. Those kind of things.
I felt that I was learning until my very last race, quite honestly.
Yeah, so I heard from somebody that you have, like, when you go into your driveway, you have a piece of a wall from one of the racetracks, and I can't remember what they were saying, but when you go in there, it was like one racetrack you were on, there was a piece of your wall instead of like stones and everything going up to your driveway, you have a piece of this wall. Is that true?
It's not. No, I don't think so.
I was fishing out in Harrisburg, and this guy said, "Oh yeah, I've been past Mario's, and he has this thing, And so I don't know. I had to ask him, like, "Oh, I'm going to interview him. I'll find out." And he said, "Oh, I swear."
I'll have to look for it. I'll go look for it after we're done here.
I'll tell him you went and looked for it. I think that everything that is going on now, I feel pretty good that we're getting back to normal, kind of. And, even, Indy's getting full. All these NASCAR venues are coming back now. How do you feel about everything getting back to normal?
Loving it, obviously. I mean, just like in watching all the football games, I mean, 70, 80,000 people, elbow to elbow, man, that's what we want, and again, it's just, we've been longing for that because it was really tough in the last year and a half or so, especially last year, the curtailing some of the events. And can you imagine, like Indianapolis, the most attended sport, I would say, anywhere. There wasn't a soul in the stands. It was just eerie. Last year I was up on the pagoda, which is just a high part of on the racetrack, and I was interviewed by ABC at the time, and I'm looking down, and the cars are on the grid, they're on the track. There wasn't anybody around there. It was like, it almost like it was surreal. And I said, I hope I never have to see this again in my life. It was tough.
Like the cars start up, but there's not that fan noise, that buzz that's going on around it. You just hear the cars. That would be really eerie.
Yeah, it was. We don't want to experience that again.
Right, we don't. So Terry wanted to know, you've had all these incredible accomplishments in your life. You won so many races, but winning driver of the year 3 different decades, would you say that's was your favorite accomplishments?
Well, of course it is. I mean, it's all of it. I mean, it's the ultimate thing that that you're looking for. I mean, it's a driver of the year. It's something that it's a judge. It's something that's you get somebody voting for something like that, And but I think just winning championships is the ultimate, because there, you earn in earnest. I mean, you either finish first, second. It's not somebody judging. Oh yeah, you're the best today.
Right.
You got to prove it. You got to be there. And for me, I got to look back at where it all started for me. And that is when I was just a young lad in Italy, and I, saw my very first big race, international race. I was 14 years of age there. And that's when my dream began of becoming a race driver. So I clinched the world championship right there in Monza, where I saw my very first big race in 1954. And
that's amazing.
On a personal level, can anything top that? No.
Right.
You know that I was there's Goodwood in England. Every year they have an incredible event with a lot of vintage cars from all different eras. And this year I was there, and I got to drive the very car that my idol, Alberto Ascari, the Ferrari, was driving in that race.
Wow. Did that take you back to like when you were a kid? Like,
talk about going full cycle.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And coming back and I mean the gentleman that owned it, he was vibrating, because you figure, oh my goodness, I mean, this is a prized possession, and but he let me drive it, and it's on a hill climb, and
right.
And it was an incredible moment for me. I was a bit emotional as well, but can you imagine that at 14 years of age, I was going to say, kid, when you're 80 years old, you're going to be able to drive that car.
Well, that was, I guess it was like when I played football and I came back to Pittsburgh, where I grew up, and got to play in the stadium here, just being in there where I watched all these Steelers when I was a kid play, then you get to go back in that space, you just look around and take a deep breath. It's amazing how it does come full circle. It's awesome. I'm glad you got to experience that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
All right. One last question. We got Andrew on. Andrew, if you want to turn your camera on, you can ask yourself. I'd love for you to do that. But Andrew, I don't know if he's going to make it in here into the queue, but Andrew wants to know, in IndyCar, they have an insane amount of young talent. Can you recall a group like this in the past?
You know what? I think overall, I think this is unprecedented. And it's exciting, as exciting as can be. I just as a fan, I can't wait for some of the races just to see some of the young talent here. Right. Just go up against some of the veterans. They're still young enough, but they're as good as as I've ever seen. And I'm looking at a young lad like. Colton Herta, for instance, who's been driving for my son Michael, and at the young age, winning the way he has already. He already won 6 IndyCar races, and he's only 21 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. It was 7 pole positions. I mean, and he didn't win by strategy, he won by pure speed, and so that's exciting. But the rookie champion this time, this Alex Palou, is another one, that came out of pretty much nowhere, if you will, but loads of talent. And the Chip Ganassi team, and he's, here it is. He's a national champion. He's a rookie year at Indy. So And there's some others out there that they're all you're gonna hear from them. They got the award. They got Pato Award as another one. With the McLaren group there, and again, exciting stuff. I agree with you, Andrew. I think it's can't wait for the season to get started again.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate that. So, what do you have coming up? What are you looking forward to? You still seem very busy. I was watching you. You're all over the place, just like you talked about. You were over in England, I think. But what do you have coming up, Mario, that people can follow you and see what you're doing now?
Well, just I'm gonna go to some more Formula One races, I think, before the season, and I don't have a specific plan yet. So, but we'll let you know.
Yeah.
But I have quite a bit on my plate anyway, and look forward to whatever's coming up again. And we got quite a few Formula One races to watch. There's going to be the championship deciding race this weekend. NASCAR in Phoenix and stuff like that. I'll be interested to see what Kyle Larson does there. He's been the revelation of NASCAR this year. I think with the Rick Hendrick equipment, and we'll see how he comes off, because he's against two already champions, and then Denny Hamlin, who is probably the winningest one of the NASCAR drivers without winning a championship. So it's going to be a lot to look forward to, and so that's what it is. That's our life.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, I love it. You're one of the greatest ever, and I thank you for coming on a second time on Huddle Up with Gus. What is for dinner tonight at your daughter's house?
Oh, actually, I have some pasta with nonarina sauce, which is unbelievable.
What's nonarina sauce?
That's my mother's sauce.
That's the name of it. Nobody knows.
Yeah, nonarina is actually, but that's what my Barbie calls it, because it's her grandmother, Nona's grandmother.
So okay. Yeah, I love it.
She calls it nonarina sauce.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for coming on. Enjoy your nonarina sauce, and I'm sure you're going to have a nice wine with that tonight. It all sounds like it's going to be a perfect night.
You bet.
Thanks, Mario. I appreciate you coming on. Thanks again. Have a great night. And thank you for being so patient with me on that late flight I had from Florida. Hey, everyone. That's another episode of Huddle Up with Gus. Thank you for joining me. I want to thank Super for hosting us. I want to thank, I think it was Oscar coming on, taking a nice selfie and asking a great question. And all you can catch me. I'll be back tomorrow with Darren McCarty. He was a 4-time Stanley Cup champion from the Detroit Red Wings. He'll be on at 2:00 tomorrow. But I appreciate Mario. Hope you guys got a little insight into what Mario's life is like. But there's so many other questions that we all probably could ask him. Thanks to Sounder. And if you want to listen to this podcast, again, check it out at Sounder FM or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Thanks, everyone. Go to Huddle Up with Gus and check me out. Have a great night. Thanks, Mario. See you, buddy.
And that's a wrap, sports fans. Thanks for joining in the fun at the 1631 Digital Studios for another action-packed Huddle Up with Gus, featuring 15-year NFL quarterback Gus Frerotte. Huddle Up with Gus is proudly produced by 1631 Digital Media and is available on Apple Music,